What's going on, everybody? So, I was in a clubhouse room a few days ago and we were talking about failure. And there was this amazing conversation going on about how you are unable to succeed unless you are also able to fail. And this is an amazing message. It's a message we hear often. You have to fail in order to move forward. And I 100% agree with this. So, as we're in this room, I'm listening to people talk, and they're asking people to come up and share their relationship with failure. And I'm listening to people talk about how they fail and how they love failure and how they try to fail every single day. And I related this to my story and I realized that I had fallen into a trap. And I think maybe you guys have too. And I want to dig into this. My question for you is, have you become so comfortable with failure that you are not allowing yourself to succeed? Let's find out. This is the More Than Corporate podcast, and I'm Amber Fuhriman. Welcome to the More Than Corporate podcast. I'm Amber Fuhriman, recovering perfectionist and serial accomplisher. If you're anything like I used to be, you've been living your life thinking that if you accomplish enough stuff, you'll finally find the success you've always wanted. But what if it's not about accomplishing more stuff? What if it's about accomplishing the right stuff? I believe you don't find success. You create it by intentionally designing the life you want and having the courage to get out of your comfort zone to live your design. I went from doing what I was supposed to do to doing what I love to do, and now I get to help others do the same. Keep listening as I chat with inspiring people who make it their mission to live their best life every day and learn how you too can live the life you've always wanted. Really quickly, before we jump into this topic, this episode of the More Than Corporate podcast is brought to you by Success Development Solutions. Here at Success Development Solutions, we believe that you do not find success. You intentionally create it by being very intentional about everything that you do. You hear me talk often about how one of the most important questions and powerful questions anybody ever asked me is, what does success mean to you? And I ask you the same question. If you were to answer that, do you know what it means? Do you know what you need to do in order to accomplish it? Do you know how to make sure that you're keeping an eye on that so you can pivot? Answering those questions all starts with being able to draft your day in a way that moves you closer to your goals. If this sounds like something that's interesting to you, I have created an amazing masterclass. It is 5 days of content, the productivity masterclass, Draft Your Day. You can find that at draftyourday.successdevelopmentsolutions.com. You'll get information on how your mind works, how you're getting in your own way in creating your goals. You'll get information related to time management, goal setting, accountability, all of these amazing topics that are going to make you more productive and allow you to have the life that you have always wanted. Yes, accomplishing goals is a huge part of being able to live the life you've wanted. And it all starts with living each single day intentionally. I cannot wait to dig into the amazing conversations that we're going to have as part of this content. Head over again to draftyourday.successdevelopmentsolutions.com and check out this content. With that being said, let's go ahead and dig into this topic. All right, guys, failure. You know, I talk about failure all the time. I have this love-hate relationship with failure, right? Nobody wants to fail. And yet we all need to. If you're not failing, you're not pushing yourself. If you're not failing, you're staying within this bubble that you know that you can complete. So I mentioned to you in the intro that this topic kind of came to my mind because I was in a clubhouse room and I was listening to everybody talk about failure, and it had become such an amazing conversation and almost an easy conversation. Like, of course I fail. Yeah, I fail. We all fail. And I listened to a couple of people say that they write down how they failed every single day. And I loved this conversation, but I realized as I was listening to everybody talk that everybody was talking about failure and nobody was talking about success. And you guys know how important this idea of success is to me. This is the question that changed my life. What does success mean to you? So, yes, failure is important, and you have to fail in order to be able to succeed. At the same time, if you are not intentionally failing, if you are not failing, learning from your failures, evaluating what you learned, what you could have done differently, and how changing things moves you closer to your idea of success, then you're just failing. You're just in this like rinse and repeat cycle. And this is the trap that I fell into for so long. I needed to be comfortable with failure. So I got comfortable with it. I got so comfortable with it that it didn't bother me anymore. Like, of course, it sucks to fail. Don't get me wrong, but you almost wear it as a badge of honor. Like, I failed today. I did it. Awesome. But how did you succeed? So, David Goggins, if you guys have not read his book, he has an amazing book called Can't Hurt Me. He also has it in audiobook form. And I am a hard physical book reader. There are few books that I actually recommend on audiobook. However, Can't Hurt Me is one of them because it's like audiobook meets podcast. So, his narrator will read the chapters of this book. His narrator will read the chapters of this book, and then they do like this podcast style interview and dig into the topics a little bit more. And it's so amazing. Granted, if you know anything about David Goggins, you know that it is not for the faint of heart. And there is a lot of language in that book. So I want to throw that out there. If language bothers you, this may not be the book for you. David Goggins, though, talks about how he incorporated the military's after action reports that they did after every mission into his everyday life. At the end of the day, what did I do well? What did I not do well? What could I work on? How could I improve this? How could I get more efficient at whatever it is that I'm working on doing? And I love this idea. And it's something that we don't talk about or do enough. So, in this concept of failure, failure is important. And then analyzing what you could have done different. What was the action steps that you could have taken to create a different result? Was there something in your mindset that needed to change in order to create a different result? Why did you not succeed? And succeeding in this task is one thing, but then this overall idea of success and this big, huge goal that you have over here, how does making adjustments to this task move you closer to this goal? You guys may have heard me say the phrase, will this make the boat go faster? It's one of my absolute favorite phrases. I heard it at a conference in 2019 for the first time, and it refers to these rowers from England, Great Britain rowers, and they were a team of 5, and they kept getting close to qualifying for the Olympics and then just not quite making the cut. And they started training, and everything that they did with the question in mind, will this make the boat go faster? Everything they did individually and everything they did as a team. And long story short, as they trained, they ended up improving so much that they not only made the Olympics, but they won the Olympics in Sydney. So, looking at this task, will completing this task make your boat go faster? Having this success idea, whatever that means to you, on the in the mind all the time when you're talking about failure is key. Otherwise, you just become so comfortable with failing that you never learn and you never get closer to your goals. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day. We were talking about this cycle of failing and rinsing and repeating and then doing the same shit over and over again, but different actions, but still failing. And I remember telling her, I almost feel like I'm afraid to succeed. I almost feel like in some of these goals that I have that are like enormous goals, like the moon level goals, that I'm afraid to succeed because I know what it feels like to be a work in progress. And this is the trap I fell into, is I know what it feels like to fail. I know what it feels like to wear that failure as a badge of honor. I know what it feels like to have somebody come up to me and say, you know what, you are doing really well because you failed. And I love that culture, but it only works if you also talk about success. How does this failure get you closer to your success? And I know that all successful people feel this way. I know that all successful people analyze their failures in relationship to how it's going to get them closer to their successes. But in that moment, in that room, all I heard was people talking about failure, failure, failure. I failed this way. I'm glad to fail. I try to fail every single day. And I had to pipe up and be like, "Ugh," like, that's dangerous. It's dangerous to be proud to fail every single day unless you also are proud to succeed. So when you look at failure as a rite of passage, which it is, you do not get to succeed if you don't fail. But you also never succeed if you become so comfortable with failure that you live in that zone. You live in the self-improvement zone. The well, I'm always trying things and I'm always trying new things, so I must be improving. How can you gauge that if you don't talk about success? How can you gauge that if you don't know what a successful day looks like for you? How do I know if I've had a successful week? What does a successful month feel like to me? The important part of this question is being able to bring this idea of success, this overreaching, almost philosophical idea of success, and bring it down into tangible, micro success definitions. Today was a success because. This week was a success because. In order for next week to be a success, I need to accomplish all of these things, whatever those are for you. That's what moves you closer to your goal. And it also, when you approach it this way, prevents you from falling into the other trap that I know all too well. And that is the accomplishment trap. I didn't fail, so I must be succeeding. Seems logical, right? And you are succeeding at something if you don't fail, but is it what you want to be succeeding at? Or are you going to end up like me, where you have a law degree and you're miserable because you thought about this life that a law degree was going to bring you and it didn't happen. Now, I want to go back and preface that by saying 2016 me had a law degree and was miserable because 2016 me thought that my law degree came with magic fairies that took away all my problems and my compartmentalization box, and it just flew away and landed with that pot of gold that I could never find at the end of a rainbow, right? It took all the work to realize that my identity isn't tied up to that law degree, that all all of the emotions, all of the things that I hadn't wanted to deal with, I had to deal with in order to feel successful. And that whether I had a law degree or not had nothing to do with it. So 2021 now, Amber, 2021 Amber has a law degree, is extremely happy with her life, is glad that I get to make the impact on other people's lives that I get to make through my podcast, through my coaching business, through my masterminds, through my law firm. And what it took was defining success and looking at failures and figuring out how I fail and fail intentionally towards my definition of success. So I really wanted to talk about this today. I really wanted to ask you, have you become so comfortable with failure that you're not allowing yourself to succeed? Think about that for a little bit. And if so, what can you do to change that? What can you do to now make sure that you are failing with success in mind? Fail with success in mind. That's the key. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. I would love to know your thoughts. Feel free to reach out to me. Let me know what you think. I'd love to chat and see how we can help you fail with success in mind. Take care, guys. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the More Than Corporate podcast. If anything that was said during this episode resonated with you or provided value in any way, it would mean the world to me if you would head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review for the More Than Corporate podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time to do that. I'm really looking forward to connecting with you. If you'd also like to connect, I've created a Facebook group that is full of amazing people who also make it their mission to live their best life every single day. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, the name of that Facebook group is Success Center. Head over there, request to join, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.